In 1931, while most delivery trucks in Germany were slow, boxy, and entirely indifferent to the concept of speed, one vehicle was covering the roads between Berlin and the Baltic Sea at 100 kilometers per hour. That was not a car speed for 1931. That was barely an acceptable car speed for 1931. This was a truck, a delivery truck, carrying 5 tons of newspapers, and it looked like nothing else on any road in the world. The story of the Rumpler RuV 31 begins not with a truck manufacturer, but with a newspaper empire, and the man who understood that the fastest delivery was worthless if nobody noticed the vehicle making it. Edmund Rumpler was Austrian by birth and restless by nature. He had spent the First World War developing aircraft for the German military, and when the war ended, he turned his aeronautical thinking toward automobiles. The result was the Tropfenwagen, the teardrop car, one of the most aerodynamically advanced passenger vehicles of the early 1920s, a machine so far ahead of its time that when the Nazis tested it in a wind tunnel a decade later, they found its drag coefficient comparable to vehicles being designed in the 1980s. The public didn't understand it. Sales were poor. Rumpler shut down production in 1926, but he did not stop working. By 1930, he had established a new company, Rumpler Lindner Frontrunner GmbH, and was developing something entirely different. Not a passenger car this time, a truck. Specifically, a front-wheel drive truck, at a time when front-wheel drive on any vehicle was still considered an engineering experiment rather than a proven solution. The client who commissioned both vehicles was Rudolf Ullstein, co-owner of the Ullstein Publishing House, at the time the largest media company in Germany. Ullstein published daily newspapers across a wide distribution network stretching from Berlin through Magdeburg, Dessau, and all the way to the resort towns on the Baltic Sea coast. In the newspaper business, speed was everything. A paper that arrived an hour after a competitor's was a paper that lost readers. Ullstein needed trucks that could move faster than anything else on German roads, and he needed the vehicles themselves to function as moving advertisements for his publishing empire. Rumpler's solution addressed both requirements simultaneously. The RuV-31 was powered by a Maybach V12 engine producing 150 horsepower, an extraordinary specification for a commercial delivery vehicle of the era. Maybach engines at the time were associated with luxury automobiles and airships. Putting one in a newspaper truck was the mechanical equivalent of installing an aircraft engine in a postal van. The power was transmitted to the front axle through double universal joints, a technically demanding arrangement that required precise engineering to handle the simultaneous demands of driving and steering through the same wheels. The result was a top speed of 100 kilometers per hour. For context, most trucks of the period struggled to sustain 60 kilometers per hour on good roads. The RuV-31 was running at speeds so far beyond normal truck performance that Continental tires had to develop a special tire specifically for it. No existing commercial truck tire was rated for the speeds this vehicle could reach. The body was built at Luchterhand and Freitag in Berlin, with additional construction involvement from Ambi Budd and the Gottfried Lindner Plant AG. Rudolf Ullstein himself participated in shaping the exterior design, and what emerged was a vehicle that looked less like a truck and more like something that had arrived from a decade that hadn't happened yet. The shape was futuristic and aerodynamically considered, Rumpler's aviation background visible in every curve. The only lettering on the entire body was the Ullstein Publishing House name in large, bold characters. The truck was the advertisement. Everything about it was designed to be remembered. Both vehicles operated their routes faithfully for over a decade. The Magdeburg run, the Dessau delivery, the long haul to the Baltic resort towns where Germans on holiday would look up from the beach and watch something extraordinary pass on the road above them. The Ullstein Express trucks became well known enough that the foreign press reported on them, international journalists covering German industry noting that a newspaper publisher was running what were effectively the fastest trucks in the country. The Ullstein publishing house itself would not survive the decade. As the Nazi regime tightened its grip on German media, Jewish-owned publications were systematically targeted. The Ullstein family was forced to sell their company in 1934 under financial and political pressure that left them no real choice. The publishing house that had commissioned the most remarkable delivery trucks in Europe was stripped from its founders within 3 years of those trucks entering service. The RuV-31s continued operating under new ownership through the late 1930s and into the early years of the Second World War. They had shaped the street scene of central Germany for over a decade, delivering newspapers and announcing their presence to everyone who saw them, exactly as Rudolf Ullstein intended. In 1943, both vehicles were destroyed in a bombing raid. No survivors. No preserved examples. No museum holds an RuV-31 today. The two most advanced delivery trucks ever built in Germany exist now only in photographs, in foreign press reports from journalists who saw something remarkable and wrote it down, and in the technical specifications of a Maybach V12 that was never meant to go into a newspaper truck. What Rumpler built in 1931 was a vehicle that answered a question nobody else had thought to ask. Not how fast can a truck go, but how fast should a truck go if the person commissioning it refuses to accept the conventional answer. The response was 100 kilometers per hour, a Maybach V12, and a shape that people stopped to stare at on every road it traveled. That is worth remembering, even if nothing physical remains of it.